Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there, welcome back.
So, guys, we're going to cover just some updates we wanted to. As always, please do subscribe if you want to join us again in the future. Looking back at the past, this is Christmas 1920, and this is in the Washington, D.C. area. Oh, beautiful, beautiful, right? I mean, I love these vintage photos. What a grand tree it was.
I know, I love the tree, but I'm looking, they put it right there where the ceiling lamp is, but it's very, very pretty.
Well, I guess, you got to make do, and that's what we always had to do. Mm-hmm. And, again, looks like there's toys under the tree. I mean, those look like pretty good quality toys there for 1920.
Yeah, they look pretty darn good.
Yeah, lucky kids, I'd say. So, maybe not so lucky looking at the temperatures out there, and woo, it's been darn cold. So this is the current wind chill, and again, this is kind of drifting towards the east, but it wasn't just the cold. And again, the cold has been record setting. It's the water. Yes, coastal flooding. This is East Boston. Look at that. And so, yeah, what could be more miserable than cold, icy water inundating your car, your house? That's not pleasant.
No, I mean, I look at that and I sit here and I shiver just a little more.
Oh, you're going to do some more shivering. Let's take a look at this one.
We've continued.
As you see, this is over in Long Island. People trapped in their cars. This is New York.
Wow.
So, yeah. People trapped in their cars getting rescued by the NYPD. Not pleasant. We were talking about this in the other video. I remember instances of this in my hometown of Milford, Connecticut, where the water would come in with some of these storm surges. This is over in Buffalo. That looks miserable. The winds, this is saying over 60. I saw there were gusts up to 79 miles an hour. This is also flooding in because of the wind. And this is, again, upstate New York, Buffalo. So, everywhere you go in New York, it was definitely an interesting time. It still is. Look at that icy, cold water coming on in.
No, I mean, that is so horrible. When you're an empath, and you guys probably are watching this, it really makes things so much colder.
I mean, look at that. That's brutal.
It's harsh. Yes.
Yeah, that is brutal. Gives you shivers just looking at it. And here we have some photos and videos showing flooding around New England. You get high tide, you get the winds, you get the surge. There you go. Icebergs floating in on the streets. Does it get any colder than that? Oh, that's brutal. Brutal. I wouldn't stop there to pump my gas. So the question is, I think, look at that. The question is, how many more times are we going to see this since winter technically just started?
I don't know, but the thing is it already looks so flippin' cold. Pardon my French.
So, this is actually an improvement from when I had looked earlier in the day when we were like at 1.5 million people without power. Let's see, Maine is basically at a quarter of the customers that are tracked are out of power. Maine is not a place that you don't want to have backup, that's for sure. 212,000 people without power there, and 109,000 in New York. It's improving in North Carolina, 85,000 out, 98,000 out in Virginia. PA has 95,000 out. Connecticut has improved quite a bit. 56,000 out, 53,000 out in Massachusetts. Definitely not a time to be without power. Just want to show you this chart from Peter Clark. The world's north is under assault by one of the most devastating snowstorms in living memory. Well, cold storms, absolutely. From Vladivostok to Toronto to New York, a massive frozen storm has engulfed the world's north. Arctic sea ice extent is unchanged in 40 years. Unchanged in 40 years. Okay. Earth isn't warming, and we are still in an ice age. Yes, we're in an interglacial period. So, yeah, technically we are in an ice age. There's ice at the poles. You know, what can you say? We understand it's always a sales job. It's always about sales. Chunks of sperm whale wash up on New York City's streets after the storm surge. That's just gross. And this actually explodes. Not pleasant, so I'll give you guys the link if you want to check it out. Caused by methane gas from decomposition. That's another whole thing. We have record amounts of methane. Remember we were talking about that. I forget who we were talking about that with. A record amount of methane is being released at this time. Changes can happen rapidly, but again, it's not the changes that they're trying to sell us, because that's all completely, obviously, agenda-based. One thing that we do have is intense extremes. We have a 50-car pileup in Ohio. This is up in Sandusky County. And one person did lose their life, unfortunately. Take it slow out there in this weather. Okay, now to where we all get really annoyed, or much more stronger words than annoyed. The House passed a $1.7 trillion spending bill. Of course, they always do. You always get them all complaining, how can we read this? You know, there's so many thousand pages we have to read in a couple hours before we vote on it. And then they rubber stamp it, you know, and you'll get a token amount of people that will oppose it, but the vast majority okay it. They rubber stamp it. Again, should any of them, I mean, really, how do we keep putting the same people in there? Obviously, people aren't happy with the way it's going. How could these people constantly be reelected? How does that possibly happen? Please tell me, guys. So, you know, it's going over to Biden. 1.7 trillion. We're already, you know, debt slaves as it is. And there you go. He's signing away 858 billion in U.S. offense policy bill. Because nobody's attacking the USA inside the USA borders, and yet this constantly goes up. Labeling something what it's not doesn't change the fact that it's not.
Mm-hmm. No, I know. It's just the information and the vocabulary words that they use and the things that they say that they're going to do. I mean, there's always supposedly somebody in the background that's going to make things right. Don't worry, guys. It's all going to be okay. It gets so tiring to watch because we know that it's not. And that's why we have to do what we need to do for ourselves. They're not going to help.
So there's a ban on military-to-military cooperation with Russia. Well, that's because, you know, there's a proxy war that's already beyond being a proxy war that will probably in 2023, at the very latest, by summer of 2024, just be a all-out complete world war, the timeline that we're on at this moment. 858 billion is a massive amount. Look at the way this is going. In 2017, 646, and that was 1% increase from the previous year. 2018, 682. 2019, 734. 2020, 778. Now, what we were just saying. So it doesn't matter if it's a Democrat or a Republican. They're all part of the military-industrial complex. This is where their profits, at least this is one of the most profitable businesses in the world. The other one is big FARMA. These two combined control everything. Total bilateral aid commitments to Ukraine. And, again, this is from, I think this was, December 7th. So, this is pretty recent. As you can see, U.S. is given the most. I had seen a higher number than the 48 basically billion dollars. And of course, Z just came to Washington, greeted like a conquering hero, and will get whatever he wants. And of course, he's just asking for the real puppet masters. It's all a show. What's that term? Dog and pony show, or?
Yeah, I think it's Dog and Pony Show. It's the same one. Yep.
Yeah. Well, it's the Biden and Zelensky show.
Or is it just it's always a one-trick pony? Is that the word?
One trick pony, yeah. Well, two tricks, Big Pharma and the MIC. When you think about the amount spent and given to Ukraine, it's more money than the whole budget for energy in the federal budget of this year. It's more than that. It's more than they give for agriculture. It's more than it's given for transportation. It's more than it's given to the Labor Department, the Justice Department, the Interior. It's more than given to the EPA. It's more. Yeah, it's a massive amount. I wonder what that translates to. We could probably figure it out. How much each person in the U.S. has given on this particular war. Arizona governor forced to dismantle $80 million cargo container wall he just built. Under the duress of a federal lawsuit, Arizona Governor Doug Ducey has agreed to dismantle two long sections of border wall the state built out of stacked shipping containers capped by concertina wire. Agreeing to an aggressive border obliteration deadline, Arizona will yank all the containers away by January 4th, and without damaging natural resources as it does. The announcement comes as Supreme Court evaluates the legality of the 45 era Title 42, which lets agents block asylum claims at the border, purportedly to limit the spread of contagious diseases amid the Plague Upon the Land pandemic. Originally set to expire on the 21st December, under a court order, any eventual removal of the policy is expected to spark a major influx in migrants. Well, there's already been tens of millions that cross. Tens of millions. It's a massive army already in place. And of course, not every migrant, probably less than 1 in 10, is actually somebody that might have military training and might be waiting for the right opportunity when given the signal to go. Still, that amounts to a massive amount of people. IRS is delaying the $600 gig tax rule. The IRS announced that they're delaying this new tax reporting requirements for millions of Americans who made more than $600 of income from e-commerce platforms like eBay, Etsy, and Airbnb. The 1-year reprieve means the said e-commerce platforms will not give the tax agency information on users whose income exceeds the $600 level, nor will they be required to provide sellers with a blizzard of 1099-K tax forms in early 2023. As the Wall Street Journal notes, this also means that opponents of the $600 rule can push for a change in the law next year. So, again, this came up. I remember Nancy talking about it. Nancy No was talking about it. Meanwhile, we all know what her and Paul are doing with all the insider info that they're constantly doing their trading on. Again, it's such a corrupt system that is just becoming obvious to everybody to a much higher degree now. Britain's healthcare workers announced they're going to have some more strikes in 2023. And a member of the few says, there's Rishi Sunak, of course, he is sad and disappointed about the widespread strikes, but refuses to negotiate. Yeah, 2023 will be same as 2022, just ramping up. And, certainly in the economic front, it's just going to keep that constant, obvious march towards the economic cliff, so to speak. So again, think about all the things you need, because, when you have such inflation as we see, and everything gets much more expensive tomorrow than it was today for the most part. I mean, I've noticed a few things coming down a tiny bit in prices. You know, you see tweets from 46 every day. Oh, gas is down again. Gas is down again. Gas is down again. Yeah. Still, yeah, the misery index is through the roof. Texas is now home to 30 million people. So only California and Texas have over 30 million. Florida will probably join at some point in the future. Still may take another 5 years or more. But California has 39 million. And, you know, again, Texas is growing at a much faster pace as a lot of people are actually fleeing California now, not just for the taxes, but also for the policies. You know, that's another reason why so many are leaving.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of reasons to leave a lot of places, but we need to decide what we're going to do now so that we can get set up for whatever we need to do. It's like we can see the writing on the wall. We know what's coming.
Yeah, and again, if you were sitting here and the year is 1860, if this is December 1860, and there's writing on the wall that there might be a level of civil unrest that's going to lead to out-and-out conflict. If you were in certain places, in certain border areas that all of a sudden will go hot, you know, you might think about a better spot. Now, I think a lot of people are looking to do that. As we saw numbers that, I've seen 10 to 15% of the entire population planning to move in the upcoming year. 25% are looking to move to a new state. So, you know, that's definitely a large portion of the people that are thinking that the grass is greener somewhere else, or they could see the writing on the wall like we had shared. You know, if you were in New Mexico during lockdown, then you jump over into Texas, it was night and day. Mm-hmm. Absolutely night and day. Texas was open for business. Everything was not too far off of normal, where it felt like an apocalypse in New Mexico.
It did. New Mexico it really felt so kind of, I don't think dirty is the right word, but it really felt, Gestapo's a good word. Yes, Nazi, Gestapo. It's like, you're going to do this and you're going to smile while you're doing it, and we're going to make sure. It just felt really awful.
You know, but when you look to, like, we were in Flagstaff, and we went into the Whole Foods there in Flagstaff. We stopped, and I don't really go in Whole Foods anymore. But this is, 2020 we're talking about. And it was one person in, one person out. One person in, one person out. And we were traveling with friends that were also in an RV. So they needed something for the baby or whatever. So we had to go, and we just saw one, so we stopped there. That was one person in, one person out. Then we went to Springerville, and Springerville is a very small town in the southeast corner of Arizona. And we went and stopped and went into a small, like, restaurant / sports bar type place. Not one person had a mask on. Not one person. And they all looked at us like we were insane because we walked in with bandanas on. I think they thought we were going to rob them or something. Well, again, so it was very different from being out in the country than it was being in a city. It was night and day. And again, that was just like one day apart. So yeah, a lot of people are making their way to where they feel they will have more freedoms, which millions of Americans have left the country. So where are they going? Well, you remember how people used to talk about crossing the border, going to Canada. Well, they're going over the southern border. People are going to Mexico in droves. Look at that. Since the plague upon the land came, the amount of Americans living abroad in Mexico has just exploded. Look at that. That's well over 700,000. They just go back to 1970 and you see 100,000. And when did it start taking off? It started taking off around the turn of the century and the millennium, but it's just, gone up and up. And, again, we have many more of these storms. Maybe there'll be a lot of people, even more, flooding across the border. Now, here you go. This is Whole Foods. Whole Foods. Scan to enter. And then you have the one line, pay at register. And, of course, you got somebody watching everything that's going on. So you need a QR code to get into Whole Foods in D.C. Oh, boy. Thoughts?
Well, here it comes, and it's just going to get more and more strange, strict, start choosing those places that you want to deal with now. A lot of people are getting a hold of their local farmers and getting with them and making deals and making sure that things stay real so they can stay out of this mess.
I always like to look at a couple comments too. So, I'll never go to Whole Foods again. I don't shop. It's too expensive anyway. It's whole paycheck, right? This one says prefer Trader Joe's. Actually can only afford to go to Aldi. Again, there's a lot of people. Never go there again. Yes, boycott them. And we should really be doing the same thing with Amazon and all the big ones. Because, they're all going to fall in line. Might as well get ready now, guys, because this is exactly what we're going through. And some will look at this like this is wonderful, right? Because what do? You got your QR code. You could just bag as you shop and walk straight out. So they're going to make life way easier if you comply, way harder if you don't comply. And that's going to be the whole scenario. That's going to be the whole scenario for everything. If you comply, life is going to be a cakewalk, so to speak. And if you don't, they're going to make it tough on you.
That's okay.
Yeah, because, hey, rebels without a cause. Well, with a cause, actually. Emotional support, hey, you got this silly little thing on you. I know you look down. I still love you.
Isn't he adorable? He's just going to snuggle right up there and say, it's okay. And, there's this really interesting thing about cats and purring. Cats' broken bones seem to heal faster, and they think it's because of their purring rate. So if you have a broken bone, if you have something that's not well on your body and you happen to have a kitty that purrs, put that kitty on that spot because it's said to heal a lot faster. Their purring is in such a way, it's a frequency that helps heal. Isn't that great?
Absolutely. And here he thinks, that could be fun if I swatted that. No, I can't do it. I can't do it. If cats and dogs can get along like this, humans could. The only problem is the leadership and, the dark matrix that's in place, because once that does crumble, and I do think it is going to crumble, there's going to be enough people that will not go along that it is going to fall apart all around them, and then we're going to have a much different experience on this planet.
Indeed.
As always, guys, thanks for your support on Ko-Fi and Patreon. Check out Medicinal Foods, link on every video. Use coupon code EEA2, it gives you a discount. Much love, God bless, and namaste.
Namaste.